Good evening from the State of Kuwait. Welcome to the 7 o'clock news for Friday, the 21st of November 2014. I am Dalia Badran with the headlines for tonight. The Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama concludes a two-day visit to the country after holding talks with top state officials. Coalition forces launch fresh airstrikes on the IS targets in Iraq as the Turkish premier visits the Kurdish city of Erbil. Tension remains high in Jerusalem as Israeli provocations continue with orders for new settlement units. The Iranian foreign minister leaves world power nuclear talks and returns to Tehran for top-level consultations. Hello and welcome. The Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama and his accompanying delegation concluded their two-day visit to Kuwait yesterday after participating in a multitude of diplomatic meetings with Kuwaiti top state officials, including a business gathering at Diwan al-Khurafi. An economic forum sponsored by Kuwait Chamber of Commerce and Industry was also held on the occasion of the PM Rama's visit, focusing on trade and investment opportunities in hopes to progress trade exchange between the two countries. Reporter Badreya Al-Saleh brings us the story.
Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama's visit to Kuwait promoted and bolstered bilateral cooperation between the two countries, as well as coordinate views on several regional and international issues of mutual concern. While here, Prime Minister Rama also called on Kuwait's private sector to invest in different fields in his country, extolling Kuwait for its contribution to the development of Albania.
Albania is a country with which we have excellent relationship. The Karafi Group have been the first to invest in Albania, and we hope to continue after His Highness, His Excellency's visit to Kuwait to have more investors to Albania. The opportunity for the Prime Minister to come and see Kuwait and meet officials is very important. But what is more important is that there should always be a follow-up to these kinds of visits. And I hope that with the large delegation he is with now, the trip will be a chance for Albania to gain more investors and give the Kuwaitis an opportunity to see what opportunities Albania can give the Kuwaiti investor.
There is a very special relation among Albania and Kuwait, and as you may know, Albania was, by certain circumstances, made the first country to condemn the invasion. And so this tied the two countries, and we had always a very special relation. And so I'm here to strengthen this relation and to seek for the continuation of our common work. On one hand, by trying to strengthen cooperation government to government, and also by doing all we can to tell people here that they can come to invest in Albania, they can come to pass holidays in Albania. Summer is much more pleasant in Albania, and we have, for that, made a very special decision to uplift visas for 6 months. So during the 6 months of holidays, you can easily come to Albania.
Relations and cooperation between Kuwait and Albania date back to the early 1990s, and since 1993, Kuwait Fund for Arab Economic Development has extended 6 loans worth around 21.5 million Kuwaiti dinars in support of agricultural and transport projects in Albania. During Rama's visit, Kuwait and Albania signed a number of cooperative agreements and memorandums of understanding, mainly pertaining to mutual visa exemption, environment, sustainable development, public health, medical sciences, and export development. The Prime Minister hopes his visit will not only strengthen diplomatic relations, but will also strike a chord of friendship between the citizens of the two countries. At Diwan Kharafi, I'm Badriya Saleh reporting for the English News.
Thank you, Badriya. The U.S. Central Command showed recent U.S.-led coalition airstrikes against the Islamic State targets in Iraq. The U.S. military said the airstrikes took place and were set to hit various targets, including buildings, tunnels, and bunkers under the control of the IS group. Meanwhile, the IS fighters attacked a government complex in the heart of Ramadi today, part of an apparently coordinated assault to seize full control of the provincial capital west of Baghdad. Gunmen fired at the buildings which house the Anbar Governorate building and police headquarters, while security forces and tribal fighters tried to prevent the militants from advancing. The Turkish Prime Minister met with the president of the northern Kurdish region of Iraq in Erbil today to discuss bilateral issues, including the oil trade between the regions. The meeting was held after Ahmed Davutoglu met with Iraq's Prime Minister Haider al-Abadi in Baghdad. Relations recently soared between Turkey and Iraq over what Baghdad sees as illegal oil reports through Turkey by its Kurdish northern region. Davutoglu expressed his support to reach an agreement on oil exports between Iraq and the Kurdish region and Turkey. Negotiations between Baghdad and the semi-autonomous Kurdish regional government yielded some progress last week after Baghdad agreed to release $500 million in frozen budget payments. In return, the Kurds will provide 150,000 barrels of oil per day for Baghdad to sell. The tensions in Jerusalem remains high amid the continued clashes and more Israeli provocations, including orders for Palestinian home demolitions and the Israeli settlement unit construction orders. From Ramallah, Fatima Abdul Karim has more.
Clashes continued between Palestinian youth and Israeli forces amidst heightening tension in the different Palestinian neighborhoods in and around Jerusalem. Clashes from last night left 12 injured in Abu Dis. Heavy clashes also broke out in Jabal al-Mukabbir, but no report of casualties was made public. Palestinians have attempted to stop Israeli forces from destroying houses of martyrs' families, but Israeli authorities responded by giving more house demolition orders, a step that was seen by the Palestinian Authority as a deliberate attempt of escalation.
We call on Israel to stop all its practices against the Palestinians, from settlement activity to house demolitions and arrests. Those actions will not bring peace to this land.
Adding insult to injury, the Israeli government gave a green light to building at least 78 new houses for settlers in East Jerusalem. The new plan includes the building of 50 new settlement units in Har Homa settlement south of the city and 28 in Ramot settlement to the north. The Palestinian government considered this step itself an escalation and called on the Israeli government to retract.
All that is attempting to wage a war on the Palestinian people. We believe that going to the Security Council is a step in the right direction to put an end to the Israeli aggression.
The tense situation is expected to see further escalation in the coming days as a result of the escalated measures of the Israeli forces. The past warnings on the situation in Jerusalem have just shown that the prophecy is real. Many believe that the spark of the Third Intifada could be what we are seeing here now and today. Fatima Abdul Karim, Kuwait TV, Ramallah, Palestine.
Thank you, Fatima. Iranian Foreign Minister Mohammad Javad Zarif will leave the nuclear talks with 6 world powers today and return to Tehran for discussions with top officials 4 days before a deadline for a final agreement expires. Iranian officials said Zarif will return to Tehran for consultations and the exchange of views with top officials, but he is expected to be back during the weekend. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met with the Iranian delegation before holding talks with his British and French counterparts to discuss the way forward. The meeting follows discussions on Thursday between Kerry, Zarif, and former EU Foreign Policy Chief Catherine Ashton. Prime Minister Shinzo Abe dissolved the lower house of Japan's parliament today, forcing an early election in an apparent bid to shore up support for his government so he can pursue his policy goals. His ruling Liberal Democratic Party may lose some seats but is likely to retain a solid majority with its coalition partner in the 480-seat lower house. The election on December 14th follows Abe's decision to postpone a planned sales tax increase after data released on Monday showed the economy slipped into recession. He is portraying the election as a referendum on his economic revitalization policies known as AB Economics and the postponement of a scheduled tax hike that had been set for next October. The U.S. president announced a plan that will protect nearly 5 million immigrants from deportation, a move that some critics call amnesty. In a televised address from the White House, Barack Obama said it does not make sense to round up and deport millions of people living in the country illegally. The main beneficiaries of the president's actions are immigrants who have been in the U.S. illegally for more than 5 years, but whose children are citizens or lawful permanent residents. After passing background checks and paying fees, those individuals can now be granted relief from deportation for 3 years and get work permits. Applications for the new deportation deferrals will begin in the spring.
Of this action call it amnesty. Well, it's not. Amnesty is the immigration system we have today. Playing by the rules, while politicians use the issue to scare people and whip up votes at election time. That's the real amnesty, leaving this broken system the way it is. Mass amnesty would be unfair. Mass deportation would be both impossible and contrary to our character. I know some.
The U.S. Vice President met Ukraine's Prime Minister today to discuss a variety of issues, not least the crisis in the nation's eastern region. Arseniy Yatsenyuk told Joe Biden that he wants to implement the deep and comprehensive free trade area and the association agreement as soon as possible. According to the European Commission, the trade agreement will boost bilateral trade in goods and services and align Ukrainian trade-related practices and standards with those of the EU. The visit comes as Ukraine accused Russia of shelling its territory for the first time in more than 2 months, as the head of the NATO said that Russian heavy weaponry is being moved into rebel-held areas of the conflict zone. Ukraine's military spokesman said that troops were shelled from inside Russia for the first time since a September 5th ceasefire. The South Korean Defense Ministry warned North Korea today that it would immediately punish any provocations. The announcement came after North Korea made provocative remarks about Seoul. The North Korean statement earlier today denounced South Korea for commemorating the 4th anniversary of the Yeonpyeong Island shelling this Sunday. In November 2010, a North Korean artillery bombardment killed 4 South Koreans on Yeonpyeong. The poorly marked Western Sea boundary has been the scene of several naval skirmishes between the two Koreas in recent years. A doctor died in Mali after treating a patient who sparked a second wave of the deadly Ebola virus in the country. The doctor worked at the Bamako clinic where a man from Guinea was admitted last month. The man was initially diagnosed with a kidney problem and has since died, along with another health worker. Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia have been worst hit by the Ebola outbreak. More than 5,400 people have died in those three countries, along with a handful of others in Nigeria, Spain, and the U.S. Kuwait has been paying growing attention to preserving biodiversity and wildlife in the country, which is a habitat to some 374 seasonal and durable plants. Therefore, Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research, the KISR, organized an international symposium on wildlife plants. The 4-day event was supported by the Kuwaiti government bodies to research and development institutions, as well as environment and agricultural authorities.
Addressing the opening session of an international symposium on wildlife plants organized by Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research, or KISR, for 4 days, the Institute's Director General, Dr. Najal Mteri, stressed support by Kuwaiti leaders to research and development institutions, as well as environment and agricultural authorities.
If we throw our seeds out the way we currently throw them out, they will blow around those landscapes. As I said, less than 10% of the seed currently delivered in the at-scale restoration attempts results in a plant. We can't afford those wastages. Seeds sitting in that environment are unlikely to yield a recovery and restoration event. Importantly, the technologies that we're developing include this strange device here that is a mixture of 11 compounds that we've come to grips with. These are the precision pellets that we're producing. Those pellets contain not only seed dormancy control agents and seed growth promotion agents, they also contain absorption chemicals that mean a 2 millimetre rainfall event is perceived by those seeds as a 20 millimetre rainfall event.
Researchers and specialists from 35 Arab and foreign countries participated in the international gathering. Thanks to directives by the country's leaders, Kuwait now has 4 natural reserves, topped with Subah al-Ahmad Natural Reserve, established on a total area of 331 square kilometers with a wide variety of plants. Kuwait is poised to establish 5 new nature reserves over the coming 10 years that will cover 1,680 square kilometers. In addition to that, the new law for the protection of the environment that came into effect last October, comprising 181 articles in 5 chapters, is the 5th of which is devoted to biodiversity. In line with the law, the Interior Ministry will form an Environment Police Department to follow up the application of provisions. KISR Director highlighted Kuwait's achievement on the 2014 Environmental Performance Index, or the EPI, moving up by 84 ranks from 126 to 42 among a total of 178 countries. The EPI is a joint project between the Yale Center for Environmental Law and Police and the Center for International Earth Science Information Network at Columbia University. From Kuwait Institute for Scientific Research, this is Heba Abdurrahman reporting for English News.
And finally, tonight, the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, the NCCAL, hosted the Palestinian Cultural Days, which aim at sending a message by Palestine, Al-Quds, Islamic and Christian sacred places to the Kuwaiti public and the whole world. Palestinian Ambassador to Kuwait, His Excellency Dr. Rami Tahboub, said the event was another milestone in bilateral relations with Kuwait, which dates back to the 1920s, adding that the Palestinian Embassy and the NCCAL were keen on the success of the cultural event. Meanwhile, the NCCAL Secretary General Ali Al-Yuha noted the creativity of the Palestinian people is standing firm against all attempts to silence them. Sarah Glubb has this report.
The National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters, the NCCAL, inaugurated the Palestinian Cultural Days, which kick-started with a performance by the Palestinian Duban group.
This event has been arranged with the National Council for about 5 to 6 months ago in order to kind of strengthening the cultural relations between Kuwait and Palestine, and as kind of also strengthening the relations between Kuwait and Palestine in general. This event is a special event. I do believe in all its activities that are going to take place. As you noticed in the outside in the lobby of the theater, that we have an exhibition, and this exhibition is also not traditional Palestinian exhibition. It's something new, and it's a modern heritage, Palestinian heritage. In addition to this, this band, or I don't know if it's called band or another word, the proper word, but in general, the Duban is a unique team that came with a new idea and also not traditional Palestinian heritage. It's a modern dancing and modern music reflecting the Palestinian identity in a new way that can spread the political message for the Palestinian people to the outside world.
Kuwait and Palestine are bound by common civilization and social aspects that are not restricted by language, but rather by the unity of the past, present and future. The Palestinian culture has been eternal and capable of confronting uneasy historic circumstances and the globalization of culture.
There is a poet who came from also from Jerusalem, will be delivering a new poem for Jerusalem, and of course he's presenting a poem for Kuwait as also kind of appreciation for the state of Kuwait. On Tuesday there will be a political seminar or political lecture will be delivered by Dr. Saib Barakat, member of the executive committee of the PLO. And of course next Wednesday there will be a fashion show, modern Palestinian fashion show.
I'm here with my mom, Khulud Khouri. She is a Palestinian fashion designer, and we are here to share our handmade embroidery done in Bethlehem, Palestine. It is on many items, including dresses, purses, belts, and accessories. And we came to the Kuwait with our Arab neighbors to share all of this.
An exhibition about Palestinian handicrafts was held on the sidelines of the event, displaying traditional jewellery and costumes, but with a modern touch.
Every nation takes pride in its cultural heritage and tries to preserve and promote it. And this is the case today for the Palestinians, as the National Council for Culture, Arts and Letters hosted the Palestinian Cultural Days, a series of events that highlight the colourful, rich and artistic aspects of the Palestinian heritage, but with a modern twist. From the Dasma Theatre, this is Sarah Glubb reporting for English News.
Thank you, Sarah. For a chance to see our reports again, please visit our YouTube channel at MOI Kuwait News. Before we end, here is a quick reminder of today's headlines. The Albanian Prime Minister Edi Rama concludes a two-day visit to the country after holding talks with top state officials. Coalition forces launch fresh airstrikes on the IS targets in Iraq as the Turkish premier visits the Kurdish city of Erbil. Tension remains high in Jerusalem as Israeli provocations continue with orders for new settlement units. The Iranian foreign minister leaves world power nuclear talks and returns to Tehran for top-level consultations.